Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. I am so glad that you joined us today. I have a comedian, and as you know, I like interviewing a lot of comedians. This is a guy who's been around for a long, long time. Has a great career. Michael Joyner, welcome to Morning Moments.
That's a nice way to say I'm old. He's been around a long
A
time.
long time, long time. I remember watching him when I was a kid. I
Yeah,
didn't say
right.
yeah,
With Bob Hope.
with Bob Hope, yes. Well, Michael, what do you do and why do you do it?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I've pretty much known from the beginning why I do comedy. I gave my life to the Lord in 1988, came back home to Indiana from Hollywood, and in 91 I did a talent show. I didn't want to do comedy, but I've always been a cut up. I did a talent show at our church after the pastor begged me to, and fell in love with the laughter from the audience. And from there, I said, man, what a great way to give the gospel, to encourage people, to inspire people. I mean, once people's mouths are open to laughing at you, their ears are open to listening to you, and Jesus did tell us to be fishers of men. So I think stand up is a great way to, the comedy is the hook, and the worm, so to speak, is the gospel. Now, I do secular gigs as well because I'm a clean comedian, and that gets a lot of folks who have corporate events or private events, and they hire me sometimes at places where they're not hiring me to preach. But I learned a long time ago. I remember doing a comedy club once, and I said just a little prayer, and I felt the Lord say to me, how come you didn't pray that I show up and bring people to Christ and so on, like you do when there's an evangelist at your church? I thought, I don't know why I didn't pray that, but I will. And I do. And although I don't see people coming to the stage and repenting, because I know that the Lord shows up, and sometimes he even gives me evidence when someone will come up to me and say, man, there was just something special here. And then they look me up, or I could tell them, that, well, that's the Lord, so comedy is a great way to advance the gospel. And that's why I do it.
Yeah, I heard somebody say, don't go fishing in an aquarium. The fish are already
Right.
at church.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
I do churches once in a while, and I have a message for Christians, as we all do, but mostly there's a world out there. When I do a gig, I always pray. One of the prayers that I pray, I say, Lord, let them experience laughter and joy from heaven. And sometimes I look out at that audience and I go, I know those jokes aren't that funny, but they're laughing. They are laughing like it's just something. And there's a joy that bubbles up when you have the Lord, when the Lord shows up, that's different from secular laughter, or whatever you want to
yeah,
call it. So, I love doing it, of course, also, and it is the way I make a living, besides as an actor and filmmaker. But for the most part, I'm doing it for eternal reasons.
you find too that there are times where not just the audience, but the people that are maybe before or after you're just there for them as well.
Oh yeah, I when I do a club, the other comedians, they know what I stand for, and I know a lot of them talk about me. I mean, all you got to say is you're a Christian, and that's all it takes, is for some folks to not like you in this world. But then at the same time, they confide in me a lot, or they suddenly find themselves talking about going to church and stuff, even though I didn't bring it up. And so I always know that in that green room could be where God does most of his work, the green room being where comedians wait to go on the stage. I'm talking about secular gigs, of course. And of course, when we're, as Christians, we're called to encourage one another as well. And you never know what, I'll tell you what, God has used. I listen to big, long sermons. I read the Bible every day, but sometimes it's one thing someone has said to me that has really changed my perspective or encouraged me. So when Christians are in a room, God can do stuff. You never know. So I always make myself available, and I'm not so foolish as to think God can't use others. So I always say, Lord, let Christ and others rub off on me as well whenever I
Yeah,
do a gig.
I know when I was doing comedy for a while, I remember I was in an open mic in Roswell, Georgia, at this restaurant bar, and the comedian that he was going on before me, we just started talking, and he says, I need to go back to church. I didn't even bring it up, and he just started talking
There you
about
go.
church, and I'm going, this is why I'm here. Whoa, okay. And it was just it was one of those divine appointments, the
Yeah.
right person at the right
Right.
time, right where you're at.
Right.
And I wonder how many times, not just comedians, but I wonder how many times God has orchestrated that for all of us, and we miss them. I
Right.
put that person in front of you. What did you do about it? And you miss
Right.
that opportunity.
You just used a phrase, Lord, you've been using a phrase, Lord, why am I here? And I got to be honest with you, after 25 plus years of comedy, I've done some gigs where I've said, Lord, why am I here?
Yeah.
Why am I here at the 6th grade, 7th grade? They're yelling at the stage, they're this, they're that. Or why am I here at this gig where it's, nobody's paying attention to me? But God always has a purpose. And I've learned, practically speaking, as a comedian, I was talking to a fellow comedian not years ago, and he gave me a little tip on we call them hell gigs. Pardon the expression. I don't mean that as a cuss word. I mean it as almost like this is hell. Is the way sometimes the way
I've been there.
comedians feel when you've been there. They're not laughing, they're talking, they're whatever.
Yes.
There's a baby crying. There's no lights on it. The mic doesn't work. So I learned a long time ago. One friend said, he gave me 4 words. He said, want to be there. So sometimes I'll get ready to go on a stage, and I could tell it's one of those gigs that may not be set up to my advantage. And I find myself thinking, I can't wait to get back to my hotel, blah, blah, blah. But then I have to say, want to be here. And I found when I do that, things happen. One thing you could always find at a comedy show, a few people who are focused on you. Do the show for them.
That's it.
And don't worry about the rest of the folks. That's their problem. My wife once gave me the best advice when I was, I would always call her before a show, say, pray. And sometimes I say, oh, pray, these folks, I don't know. They don't look like they're going to laugh or whatever. They look like, I'm not getting a good feeling. She would say, honey, don't forget, you're funny. If they don't receive it, that's their problem. And I do it now. I go up saying, after 25 years, I can say I'm funny. So if you don't get it, I did my part, and most comedians with that much experience or less can say that. So those are just some practical things I've learned, because like you said at the beginning, comedy can be real hard. I don't know if you know this, by the way. Do you know there's a famous comedian, I don't know who it is, who on his deathbed, they said, I may be paraphrasing a little bit. They said, what's it like dying? And I believe these were his last words. He said, dying's easy, comedy's hard.
Yes.
So there's a lot, if you've done that, and that there's a lot of truth to that.
I did a nursing home where there was 3 people that showed up, and just after I started, one got up with a walker and took off because I wasn't singing any music. And I'm thinking, there goes 33% of my audience. I thought, well, I guess still got 66% left, I guess, So
I did a nursing home recently. There wasn't a dry seat in the house.
Yes.
I actually did it's funny, after I've been doing that joke for years, and I actually, a few years ago, actually did some nursing homes. I did that joke there, and they actually went over pretty good. And they like when you joke about, they know they're old, so they like when you joke about. I think the last nursing home I did, I said, how old are you, sir? And he said, 90. I said, 90? Well, I'm going to hurry up so you can see the whole show. Something like that. And they love it. They absolutely love it. So anyway, that just reminded me of that. I don't prefer nursing homes. of course, I prefer your age, my age, maybe 40 to 60. But I was surprised to see that it actually went up. They can take a joke like nobody's business.
Yeah,
That's, that's a fact.
absolutely. Yeah. A lot of doors open in nursing homes because of maybe a nurse too.
Oh,
I,
that's true. There
yeah,
you go.
I had a open door with that, and then I told a lot of medical jokes and stories but that was fun. So good. All right. Well, Michael, I thank you for sharing your heart. I'm going to put down below some links that people could follow you and see where you're at and what you're doing. Um,
Okay.
but I also want my audience right now uh, to take some time and pray after this video is over and pray for Michael. Pray that God would continue to use him wherever he goes, and that he's a light in the darkness. And sometimes people think you have to shine your light only in church. No, God wants to shine the light wherever we're at, and God will open doors to him that he will never ever open doors for you. And so it's up to you to be praying for him. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing what's in your heart today, Michael.
Hey, you're welcome, brother. And you said something. You say a lot of stuff that triggers another idea. If I could say one more thing.
Please do.
You said, I pray that God will use Michael wherever he goes. One thing God established in me, which kind of makes doing mundane things fun. I go to Quick Trip over here every day, get a couple of these. And if you do that like I do, or wherever you go for your coffee, pray for the person on your left and right. Pray that the Lord shows up. Just like I said earlier, just because you're not in a church doesn't mean God can't show up and bring revival to that place.
Absolutely.
Start doing that, and you'll be surprised what God does every once in a while. Someone will say something to you, and it'll be a divine appointment, guarantee it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to give one more tip since you said something that
Sure.
reminded me of something. My wife and I, quite often when we go out to eat, not all the time, but quite often when the server takes our order, and they always ask the question, is there anything else I could do for you? And I sometimes I stop and say, yes, there is. My wife and I are getting ready to pray for our food. Is there anything we could pray for you about? I'm telling you, God has opened so many doors just by asking your waiter, your waitress, if I could pray for you. And it's been a special time. So if you have never done that, give that a try too.
Right. That's beautiful. The harvest is plentiful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you.
And thank you for joining us for Morning Moments, and pass this interview on and keep coming back, and may God richly bless you.